Hey everyone, so I'm back to doing videos. I know I've been away for a long time. Once my computer crashed way back when and I lost everything that I had on it, I kind of got a little bit disheartened about doing the videos and whatnot and just kind of concentrated on making the art. But in light of all this quarantine stuff going on, I've got plenty of stuff to edit and decided to start doing the videos again. I also launched a Patreon page where I have a lot of stuff like this, a bunch of free art, and a whole bunch of tutorial stuff where I walk you through the process in a much longer format than this. You know, I tried to do, like, this one was a 56-minute painting, and I tried to do the tutorial in real time, but it got super boring because there's parts where you're kind of just rendering and you kind of don't have anything too important to talk about. So what I did was, in the tutorial, I kicked it down to real time when I was doing something important, and then sped it up through the boring stuff. And I think that's pretty much what I'm going to do for all the tutorials when they're based off of paintings. You know, like, I got a color theory series that I'm going to do, and that, you know, will pretty much all be in real time. But other than that, I think the speeding up through the boring stuff is probably the better way to go. That way you guys still catch all the important stuff, and, you know, I can talk through my process, and then you don't got to sit there and, you know, try to move the timeline back and forth to figure out when the boring stuff's done. So let's talk about what's been going on lately. I don't know, I've been having sort of a identity crisis, if you will. Ever since school, I've kind of, I don't know, I haven't been so clear on what I've wanted to do with my art anymore. I learned so much there, and I really enjoyed the things that I learned, and I really enjoyed the impact it's had on my art. But, you know, I was always so sure on what exactly I wanted to do as an artist, and now I'm not. I don't know if it was just being exposed to, you know, really good artists, or I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it. But one thing I do know is that I'm more unclear about what I want to do now than I ever have been. The only thing I am clear on is the same thing I knew going into school, and one of the main reasons why I wanted to get better as an artist, other than, you know, self-fulfillment, of course, is I want to work on my own stuff. I want to do my own IPs. I want to build my own, I don't know, worlds, and I've just got all these stories that I've written down, and, you know, all these ideas, and I wanted to have the skill set to make it worth pursuing. One of the problems that I found is that I don't want to work so much for studios anymore. I mean, there's some studios that I still would enjoy working for, and there's still some jobs I haven't got to do yet that I still want to do. But for the most part, I just want to work on my own stuff. My problem is that now I don't know exactly how I want that stuff to look. You know, one thing that happened was, as I was kind of getting into this whole identity crisis funk, I got a couple jobs out of nowhere, really, that were very, very animated style. They didn't use any of my realism, you know, kind of skill set at all. I was kind of like, why not, man? That sounds cool. You know, I'm a huge fan of cartoons. And, you know, of course, I have my favorite cartoon, you know, animation style artist out there. And so I was like, yeah, I'll try it. And as I was doing these, like, character designs and turnarounds and breakdowns and call outs and all this stuff for these pieces, I was like, man, this is fun. And so I started thinking, like, what stuff have I worked on of my own, you know, story-wise, that could be retooled and kind of done in kind of a cross between my style and an animated style, and or at least an animated style that, you know, I kind of had to really quickly develop for these jobs. And I settled on the Lovecraftian story that I wrote a few years back. I can't say I didn't write the story. I outlined the story roughly, and I knew it was always going to be a graphic novel. And when I do my graphic novels, I don't usually have a super tight story. As I'm developing the pages, I kind of know what I want to happen. I know key moments. I know, beginning, middle, end. I know characters. I really, really go in and develop the characters as much as I can before I actually start the story. And then as I'm doing the art for the pages, each page I kind of know, well, maybe not each page, but I kind of know what's happening, right? So I know the story beats. And as I'm doing that, then the dialogue just sort of develops as I'm drawing the piece. So I don't really write out all the dialogue for the most part. When I started working on my other graphic novel, Red, I definitely wrote down all the dialogue, but it still evolved and changed based off the artwork for each panel. But this one was a lot more loose than that. So it was a lot easier to retool as well. So I went in, I changed the lead character, and I made him a jackalope. It doesn't make a lot of sense when I'm describing it, to be honest. But it's a fun character. It's a super fun character to draw. And then there's a detective that works with him, and his name's Burke. And as I was drawing him, and you can kind of see in that frame, in the bottom left corner of the frame, that's his belly sticking out there. And as I was kind of drawing him, I sort of realized, like, man, Burke is me. Like if I were to like extreme caricature myself, it would probably look a lot like Burke. So I think that's why he's also really natural for me to draw. But yeah, so I started working on that, and that's sort of, I'm exploring that more animated style. One thing I learned really quick from doing the more animated looking stuff is that I now realize that I want to do more with less. Like if you look at the sketch that I did for the beginning of this painting, this was a 56-minute painting, and I needed a little like face or something for my Patreon page, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. I couldn't really justify spending a lot of time on it with everything I have to do, so I figured, well, I'll just do this quick sketch and then I'll paint it, because I was really just simplifying my lines down to the bare minimum of just creating lines that I thought looked cool and shapes that I thought looked cool but still resembled me. I really like that. I really like that outcome. I can still go in and render within those, basic shapes, but I like just the way it affects the silhouette of the piece and the energy and movement it can have from just having fewer lines. And I did this barbarian painting where, I don't know, it was sort of like the Bruce Timm thing, how he had like that, just that, wow, right down the back of the arm, just that straight line or whatever. And I did that, and I still went in and rendered out all the anatomy, but I really just like the clean look of the outside of it. And so I want to start incorporating that into my art a lot more. And this piece was kind of along those lines, even though I think I still kind of rendered the hell out of it. I didn't mean to take the rendering this far. Once I was working on it, I was only going to spend about a half hour on it, and then I thought, oh, I'm going to make a Patreon video out of it, so it's okay to spend a little bit more time on it. And then some of the cool shapes that I had, I think I kind of just rendered them out, and that's a bummer, just taking it too far when I kind of knew what I wanted from the get-go, but whatever. So yeah, working on the Applejacks, finishing up the game still. I did find that, I don't know, after 3 years of working on the cards for the game, I got a little bit burned out, and I started to shortcut my last couple paintings. And some of them were what I thought were the coolest drawings that I did for the cards, and I didn't want to shortcut it and kind of not go all in on them like I did the rest of the cards. So I stepped away from that a little bit and just started working on other projects that I had kind of in the beginning phases, like the comic book and a couple other things that I'm not really talking about yet. And then, I just decided, man, like, you were having fun kind of doing those YouTube videos and stuff, and everybody's got a Patreon. Like, why don't you, see if some of those people that are into your art, want to follow your Patreon and start, if nothing else, start putting up the YouTube videos again. And so that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to do like this. I did a tutorial of this painting. It was just kind of like a how to take a sketch and take it all the way to a finished painting. Well, I wouldn't call this a finished painting, but it's really good if you're going to do like a big oil painting or something and you're not really sure on your colors or you're inventing a lot. I use this process to kind of map out what I'm going to do. You know, I could spend an hour or two, depending on the piece, get a really strong idea of like what works for the colors and what doesn't. And it's also quick for doing this kind of stuff, you know, where you can just knock out a really quick, you know, piece, especially if it's going to be used online or something where it's going to be really small and you're not going to see that it's not that finished. And so I'm going to have the tutorials that kind of walk you through those processes and more in-depth processes. Like I'm working on a series of color theory videos, and put up a ton of free art, you know, like every week so far I've been loading up a new piece for people. Like I put the Big Lebowski up this week. A lot of people love my Big Lebowski caricatures, so I put that up, so it's huge. You can download it or whatever you do if you join the Patreon. I also have, you know, like the Rocco's Modern Life piece that I did. I've got a couple of the fantasy pieces I did, and I just figure every week or so I'll throw a new one up, you know, stuff that people like, and hopefully, you know, people who didn't have access to my art before can have it on their computer or whatever they want to do with it, and I think that's pretty cool. I'm also open to suggestions, you know, like anything that you guys want to see, let me know, and I'll throw it up there. And there's 2 tiers for the Patreon. The bottom tier, the $1 a month, is just going to be these videos, early access to it, plus all the art. And then there's the $5 one. That's going to be the only place where I'm going to post the majority of the tutorials and some of the, I don't know, more finished artwork. You know, pieces like my BB King up or something like that. You know, that was a professional piece done for the BB King Museum and stuff. And I'm really proud of that piece. I don't want to just put it on the $1 tier. And that's pretty much it, man. Just trying to figure out what I want to do and how I want to do it, and hopefully share that journey with you guys, and maybe you guys get, you know, a little something out of it. If nothing else, maybe you can just mute it and watch the tutorial or the time lapses, and you know, that could be cool. Whatever case, I hope you guys like it, and I hope to see a lot of you guys on my Patreon. You know, come check it out. Thanks. See you next time.